Lodge, congratulations on the show. I love the episode. It's so damn good. One thing though, which I struggle with as well as storyteller, that it's a story about a woman, so to say, driven, and you have several characters, right? As a male, when you're telling story of a woman, and especially a woman on your side, like Lee Grant had shared this story where Warren told her how to do a certain scene, and she said no, and ended up kind of doing it that way. So how was that experience of telling a woman's story with a woman on your side? Did you learn something new in that process? And now you're doing 7 episodes of all on your
Oh, Amy, did you hear all that?
And how was Amy's experience working?
Okay.
That?
So the question was to Lodge, directing. Basically, you're telling a woman's story here, and how did that work? Basically, and Amy, also your feelings about, how do you do?
Well, we co-wrote the entire script together. What we do, our process was we broke all 13 episodes on cards scene by scene, what the episodes would be. And then we'd split up each episode. So Amy would take like the first or second half of one episode, and I'd take the other half. And we'd write it separately, and then we'd meet and we'd rewrite it. And the rewriting, we literally rewrote it line by line together. But I'd like to address this idea of like the male filmmaker versus female filmmaker, and a male directing a woman's story versus a woman directing a male story. I think it's reaching a point of kind of absurdity, to be perfectly honest at this point. There's a human experience, and I think if you're sensitive to what another human being is going through, you can never have their identical experience, but you can have a tremendous amount of empathy and be open and step outside of this box. Otherwise, we're all going to put people in a gender box, in a sexual orientation box, in a racial box, and say that I can't possibly understand your experience. And I think that's a very, very, very dangerous thing, that this trend that we're going towards, instead of taking the time to say you're an individual, and I'm going to treat you like an individual. I'm actually going to spend the time to interact with you as an individual. And I can't live your life. And I think that's true of everyone. Like I can't live your life. I'll never know what your life is like. And it doesn't matter that what that gender is necessarily. I think it matters what your sensitivity is, what your intelligence is, what your education is. And then if you're open to it, and I think you have to be sensitive too to what the performer is telling you at that point. Not necessarily in terms of the writing, but when you give a script to somebody, you have a discussion about it. And I think that hopefully they see your work beforehand and see your sensitivity to it, and then that becomes a collaboration in and of itself. So everything is a collaboration, and this idea of like, we can only have separate experiences, only one person who is authentic in this, and I think this authenticness too is like a real problem, because nothing's authentic at all. And we all have just really distinct experiences, but at the end of the day, we all have a human experience, and that's what's important, and that's what I try to really articulate and get across.
Amy, do you agree with all that, or do you think that there's something inherent in a female or male point of view that... She's laughing. Okay.
Well, I definitely agree that there is that about the human experience, and that. But I also agree that every filmmaker that I've come across has their own idiosyncratic sort of approach to the subject matter, right? Whether you're male, female, or you know what I mean. Like it's not a universal thing that all men approach a subject matter one way, and all women approach a subject matter one way. Because as a female filmmaker that likes dark, tricky, gray area subjects, that's not a stereotype that a lot of people would project onto a female filmmaker. And I like. I mean, I come from Florida. I like fucked up stuff. So I'm not really sensitive to. I don't really care about. Like, I want to see crazy women on screen. I want to see not just crazy women, but that is. I do want to see crazy women, because I just don't feel like we've had the permission to do that for a very long time. Like, we've seen so many iconic, crazy men on screen, and women, they always have to do that thing where we give them a dog so we can show that she's like actually a good human being. But really, we just like, you know, we just like show a woman with like an existential crisis, you know, and I really enjoyed writing Lodge because that was our approach. It's like let's make her very unapologetic. So I never had a moment with Lodge writing that was ever like that I ever felt like in a way like you're stepping on my feminist point of view, but at the same time, you know, there are things that I do that, you know, that I do feel I get tired of seeing male perspectives of women. This experience was not that, but I do feel there are sort of like idiosyncratic things of that happen with women where men don't know about because we're just still not allowed to talk about, you know, like our periods, for instance. Like I mean, I wish we have them every fucking month. Like we have the period, and so I was like sort of fascinated about like what happens when you have your period. But then narratively, it just sort of didn't work out in season 1. But like, you know, stuff like that I think
we had
is
her have
really.
her period though.
She does have her period, by
In
the
season
way.
1. She does. We did it.
Yeah, but I do think like I do think I want to see more diversity in directing and storytelling because there are because I'm more interested in people that come from different backgrounds telling those stories, you know, and so that's how I feel. And there's a lot of days where I forget that I'm a woman because I'm so in my head. But and then I'm like sort of starkly reminded about it in sort of weird instances of sexism. But for me, I always think of myself as a filmmaker first. And I was just born a woman, if that makes sense. That I'm not trying to dismiss the feminism aspect. I'm just saying I just wish more women weren't classified as female filmmakers. They were just classified as filmmakers. The same with Black cinema and everything else. And we just watched it with a lens of like, I take your ideas seriously. And unfortunately, we just don't live in that society right now. We just have to still marginalize people. Sorry, that was my rant.
All right. So